What if you just stopped? Stopped complaining. Stopped being annoyed enough to complain. Stop letting emotions decide where you spend energy. Stop investing time in the things that cause those emotions. Stop doing the things you complain about. Stop being a slave to your phone. Stop reacting to what people say instead of listening to what they say. Stop watching time slip away instead of watching life unfold. Stop inviting outside influences to dictate how much or how little you enjoy life. What if you just stop? Stop. Take a moment. Look at a leaf falling from a tree. Stop and listen to a bird singing. Stop and watch a cloud drift by until you can't see it anymore. Stop and remember why you loved that person that made you angry. Stop and remember what joy feels like. What if you just stop? And then, what if you don't? There's something really powerful in that pause between stopping and starting again. When you've let go of the reactive noise, but you haven't yet picked up what comes next, that's where clarity lives. It's where you realize how much of what felt urgent was just maybe a habit, momentum without direction. The hardest part isn't stopping. It's what happens after you've watched that cloud disappear and the silence settles in, because then you have a choice. Not react, not default, actually choose what you pick back up. A lot of people stop for a breath, feel that relief, and then reach for the same things they just put down. The phone finds its way back into their hand. The complaints resurface because the situation hasn't changed. The anger returns because the memory of joy doesn't solve what caused the anger in the first place. But if you stay in that stopped place long enough to really see what you've been carrying, then maybe you start moving differently. Not with less energy, but with intention. Not reacting less, but responding more deliberately. Not avoiding emotions, but choosing which ones you feed. The real question isn't whether you can stop. It's whether you can stay stopped long enough to remember who you are underneath all that noise, and then build from there instead of just resuming. A lot of people won't admit, even when they feel it, that so much of what fills our days is chosen emptiness disguised as necessity or entertainment. The self-imposed part is what makes it tricky. It's easier to blame circumstances than to acknowledge we're the ones scrolling, overcommitting, staying in conversations that drain us, building routines around the things we don't actually care about. There's a strange comfort for some people in being busy. It feels productive, maybe even when it's just motion. I don't struggle too much with this, but I also haven't overcome it. And that's probably the honest position most people are in when they're actually paying attention. It's not a binary on and off position kind of thing. Some days you catch yourself mid-scroll and you put the phone down. Some days you don't. Some weeks you protect your time fiercely. Others, you let it dissolve into everyone else's agenda. Maybe the goal isn't overcoming it completely. Maybe it's just catching yourself sooner each time. Realizing the pattern before you've lost the whole afternoon or the whole week, the whole month to stuff that doesn't matter. And I think, what would it take for me to change to feel like I've actually overcome it rather than just managing it better? It's probably an unrealistic, overly dramatic pipe dream, but I can envision myself throwing my phone into the ocean. Just poof. But realistically, it's trying to better control the time I spend on my phone. Spend more time writing with an actual pen and paper. More time making music. More time doing things that matter. And I think the ocean thing isn't as maybe dramatic as it sounds. I think plenty of people have that same fantasy. I just want to get rid of this. There's something satisfying about the permanence of it. No gradual weaning off. No, I'll just check one more thing. No fishing it out of a drawer 3 days later if you try to hide it from yourself. It's just gone. But I already know, and you probably already know as well, the phone's not the problem. It's the easiest thing to blame because it's there. It's always there. Clearly stealing our time. But if the phone disappeared tomorrow, something else would fill that space unless we build a habit of reaching for that pen or the instrument or things that matter. The real shift isn't about controlling your phone time, which I think is necessary, but it's about making the other things easier to start than the phone is to pick up. Scrolling has no friction. It's immediate. It asks nothing of you. It fills every gap. Where writing with a pen and the paper, well, that requires finding your notebook, sitting down, being intentional about it. Making music, same thing, setting up, focusing. The phone wins because it's frictionless. So the question might become, how do we reduce the friction on the things that we actually want to do? Make the notebook more accessible. Keep your instrument out where you can grab it. Make starting those things easier than reaching for your phone. Maybe some days you still lose hours to the phone. But if you've written a few pages, does it matter as much? I think, what would I write about if the notebook was sitting right in front of me? And I think I just wrote it in preparing for this. I did the work. I wrote something real, something I've been thinking about. There's nothing wrong with that. That I did it on my phone. There's nothing wrong with that. But it does highlight the friction point. I had the thought, the words came, and the lowest resistance path was typing it out instead of pulling out the notebook. Which means maybe the notebook isn't as accessible as it needs to be, or there's something about this format that makes it easier to start. I don't know. Maybe it's the phone was already in my hand, which is part of the problem. But either way, I wrote something instead of scrolled for 20 minutes. I think that matters. It matters to me. I think that counts for something.